General Zexthara stood on the bridge of his flagship, gazing down at the primitive world below through eyes that had witnessed the conquest of 17 star systems. His chitinous exoskeleton gleamed under the ship's bioluminescent panels, and his mandibles clicked with barely contained amusement. "Status report," he commanded in his native tongue, translated instantly by the neural interface all crew members shared. "The humans have gathered in what appears to be their largest settlement, General," reported his aide, a younger Kethmar whose carapace still bore the bright green of inexperience. "Their weapons are crude, metal projectiles, chemical explosives and," the aide paused, mandibles twitching with what might have been embarrassment. "Pointed sticks, sir." General Zexthara's thorax rumbled with laughter. In his 3 centuries of life, he had faced the plasma cannons of the Draxi Empire, the molecular disruptors of the Silicon Collective, and the reality-warping weapons of the Void-Touched. Never had he encountered a species so technologically backward that they still wielded sharpened metal on wooden poles. "Pointed sticks," he repeated, his voice carrying across the bridge. The crew joined in his amusement, their chittering filling the air. How quaint. How absolutely primitive. The holographic display showed the human forces arranged in formations that Zexthara recognized from ancient military texts. Infantry squares, cavalry units, archers positioned on elevated terrain. It was like watching children play at war with museum pieces. "Sir, they're attempting to communicate," the communications officer announced. "Shall I respond?" "By all means." Zexthara waved a clawed appendage dismissively. "Let us hear what these primitives have to say before we claim their world." The transmission crackled to life, carrying the voice of what the humans called their general. The translator struggled with the crude language patterns, but the message was clear enough: surrender or face destruction. Zexthara's mandibles spread wide in what his species considered a grin. "Inform them that they face the might of the Kethmar hegemony. Their primitive weapons cannot penetrate our bioarmor. Their crude metals cannot breach our shields. They have one final opportunity to submit before we demonstrate the futility of resistance." The response came swiftly. "Then come down and face us." "Sir," the aide ventured, "perhaps we should simply bombard them from orbit? There's no honor to be gained fighting such—" "No." Zexthara's voice cut through the bridge like a plasma blade. "These humans must learn their place in the galaxy. We will descend and show them the difference between true warriors and primitive savages. Ready my personal guard." An hour later, General Zexthara strode across the alien battlefield, his biomechanical armor adapting to the planet's atmosphere and gravity. Behind him marched 50 of his finest soldiers, their exoskeletons enhanced with technology that had conquered worlds. Energy weapons hummed at their sides. Shield generators flickered around their forms, and sensor arrays fed them detailed information about every human within a kilometer radius. The humans waited in a loose formation at the center of what appeared to be their capital city. Zexthara's enhanced vision cataloged their weapons: crude firearms that fired simple metal slugs, edged weapons forged from basic steel, and yes, pointed sticks. Spears, his cultural database informed him, some of the most primitive weapons in galactic history. "I am General Zexthara of the Kethmar hegemony," he announced, his voice amplified by his armor's speakers. "I have come to accept your surrender and discuss terms of your servitude." A human stepped forward from their ranks. Unlike his comrades, this one wore no armor, carried no visible weapons. He was tall for his species, with graying hair and eyes that seemed to catalog everything they saw. In his hands he held a simple wooden spear with a metal point. "I am Colonel Marcus Chen," the human replied, "and I'm afraid we're going to have to decline your generous offer." Zexthara's mandibles clicked with amusement. "You would face the might of the hegemony with that primitive implement?" "This primitive implement," Chen said, hefting the spear, "has fed my family for 30 years. Taken deer, elk, bear. Sometimes you don't need fancy technology, General. Sometimes you just need to know exactly where to strike." The battle began without ceremony. Zexthara's soldiers advanced, energy weapons charging with distinctive whines. The humans scattered, using their knowledge of local terrain to maximum advantage. Primitive firearms cracked against energy shields, achieving nothing. Steel blades skittered off biomechanical armor plating. It was, as Zexthara had predicted, a massacre. But not the massacre he had expected. The humans fought like nothing in his experience. They didn't stand in formation trading volleys like civilized warriors. They darted between buildings, used debris for cover, struck from unexpected angles. Their primitive weapons might not penetrate hegemony technology, but their tactics. Colonel Chen moved through the battlefield like a predator born to it. He studied each Kethmar soldier, learned the rhythm of their energy shield cycles, observed the joint articulations in their bioarmor. When Zexithara's lieutenant cornered a group of human civilians, Chen was there. The spear moved with precision that spoke of decades of practice. Not a wild thrust of a desperate primitive, but the calculated strike of someone who understood exactly how weapons worked. The wooden shaft flexed as Chen drove the metal point through the microscopic gap where the lieutenant's helmet joined his neck guard, a vulnerability so small that hegemony armor designers had deemed it acceptable. The lieutenant fell, green blood pooling beneath him. Zexithara roared his fury and charged toward the human colonel. His personal shields flared to maximum power. His bioarmor's threat assessment systems painted targeting solutions across his vision. This primitive would pay for his insolence. Chen waited, spear held in a deceptively casual grip. As Zexithara closed the distance, the human moved, not backward in retreat but forward and to the side. The spear point found the general's ankle joint, where biomechanical enhancement met natural carapace and drove deep. Zexithara stumbled, his enhanced reflexes saving him from a complete fall. Pain signals flooded his nervous system. Pain from a wooden stick with a metal point. Impossible. "Your armor is impressive," Chen said, circling like the predators from his world. "But it's still armor. And armor always has weak points. Joint articulation, sensor apertures, cooling vents. Your technology makes you strong, General. But it also makes you predictable." The duel that followed would be remembered in hegemony military academies for generations. General Zexithara, with all his technological superiority, pursued by a human with a pointed stick who somehow always seemed to be exactly where the general couldn't effectively strike back. Chen's spear found cooling vents, sensor arrays, the thin membranes of wing joints. Each strike was precise, calculated, aimed not to kill but to systematically disable the general's technological advantages. When Zexithara's targeting systems failed, Chen blinded his visual sensors. When his energy weapons overheated from constant firing, Chen severed the power conduits. In the end, General Zexithara of the Kethmar hegemony knelt in the dust of a primitive world, his superior technology stripped away piece by a human with a wooden spear. "How?" he wheezed through damaged vocal synthesizers. Colonel Chen leaned on his spear and smiled. "Because, General, we've been killing things with pointed sticks for a very, very long time, and we're very good at it." The remaining Kethmar forces withdrew that day, carrying tales of humans who turned primitive weapons into instruments of tactical precision. General Zexithara spent the rest of his days in a hegemony medical facility, recovering from wounds inflicted by the most ancient of weapons. He never again called any species primitive.